Hey, thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Edgar Pavon, and I am a health and physical education specialist with the school district. So we work with our physical education teachers and health educators. And of course, one of the main things that we deal with is anything that has to do with physical activity and movement. So that's why I'm the one here talking about this tonight. And we feel it's very important for people to understand how we can make that connection between movement, physical activity, and academic progress. So without any further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen and get to the presentation. So again, my name is Edgar Pavon. You can see me there. We've got our Director of Health and Physical Education is Heather Albritton. You see her there in blue. And there are three specialists under her. I am one of those three. Franny Kendall and Charlie Getz are the other two. They are all doing other things for the district right as I speak. So we are a mighty team of four doing all this work. So we're very excited about this, however. So we're so happy to be here. And let's get going. So over time, in the past, in antiquity and beyond, we have, as a people, we have understood the importance of physical activity and movement. People like Plato and even the Buddha have made comments about the importance of physical activity. Physical education in our elementary, middle, and high schools, of course, as a component of that as well. And what I will do today is go over how we do physical activity in school, and then, of course, why we do it and how that affects or potentially affects our students' ability to perform better cognitively in academics. Starting with the percentage of high school students based on the last Youth Risk Behavior Survey from 2019. So nationally, this is what our country looks like as far as students who were overweight. As you can see, the areas in the South tend to be greater, that percentage of 16.6 to 20.1% of our teenagers being categorized as overweight. Not quite so much in the Northeast, areas where being outside and being physically active is more the norm. Florida is a bit of an outlier, as are the coastal regions of the middle Atlantic, because we tend to have weather that's favorable to a lot of physical activity. So we have a lot of kids, whether they have the means or not in many cases, that are able to be physically active. And so we're kind of in the middle there between the 15.8 and the 16.5% of high schoolers categorized as overweight. We're not doing as well as other places like Alaska, California, New England area, Illinois, and places like that. But we're not doing quite as bad as well either, sorry. However, as you can see, nationally, we're not doing great. We would not be able to give ourselves even a C plus on this particular question. When we look at self-description, so these are the high schoolers who describe themselves as being overweight, you see that the majority of them are female by a sizable margin, the 28.7% of males to the 36.1% of females. In this particular case, we're only looking at high schoolers because those are the ones that were asked this question. You see that the ratio starts to plateau around 10th grade. And that's kind of where the kids are. They've done a lot of their growing, and this is where they kind of end up with that 33%. For the most part, Hispanic kids tend to be the ones that are self-described as overweight, followed by our white population and then our African American students. And this is a national, this is not Duval County, this is the national numbers. Now we have to, or I'm going to switch to from overweight to obese. So overweight is a certain percentage of your body mass index being at a certain area. Obese is beyond that. And so these are the folks that are greatly overweight. And as you can see there, Florida is doing a little bit better when it comes to that. Still nationally in around the south of the United States, central United States, we see fairly high numbers. So as much as 1/5 of our students, one out of every 5, will be categorized as obese. This is a trend that keeps growing up as these surveys are given. It didn't used to be this way a couple of decades ago, and of course, didn't used to be back in the 1960s and 70s. These numbers were much lower. So there's a lot of more sedentary behavior happening right now, a lot more screen time going on, and all of these things have collaborated towards these numbers going up. We're a little concerned about that, of course, as we should be. It helps with memory, especially working memory. It helps you regulate your mood. Kids who are not having a good day tend to do a little bit better after they had a physical activity session. They also tend to be less fidgety. This is something I know firsthand. Sometimes there are feelings of helplessness, and that's a learned feeling, and the physical activity increases the student's ability to feel better about themselves. So the helplessness issue is reduced. Also reduces stress. It helps as a class when you work together and you play together. It helps create cohesion. And it increases BDNF, and that's what we're going to go into right now. A little bit of science. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which I can hardly ever say correctly, it's something that happens naturally. It's a molecule that happens within our nerve endings and nerves. And what it does basically, and we call it the miracle growth for the brain and cells and neurons. Because as you can see on the right side of the slide, when you see how the neuron looks before an application of BDNF, kind of flat without much activity, and then after an application of BDNF, how much more the dendrite grows and how active it is, which leads to this sort of thing. The research shows that after sitting quietly for about 20 minutes, the brain looks like what you see on the left side. However, after 20 minutes of walking, the brain looks like what you see on the right side. And of course, when we talk to our teachers about this, we ask them, which one of these two brains would you rather be teaching? And without fail, everyone, of course, says the brain on the right side, because there's a lot more stuff going on there. There are more connections. There's more learning happening, or the potential for learning is increased, especially in that region of the brain towards the back there, where we start working things out and committing things to memory. As far as requirements in the state of Florida, and we're going to go into the differentiation here between elementary, middle, and high school. We're going to call those elementary and secondary being grades 6 through 12. So in the state, there is a statute, 1003.45, that requires 150 minutes of physical education each week. That's for grades K through 5 only. And 20 consecutive minutes of daily recess. So daily recess is a requirement by state law because of the same things that we were just talking about, that I was just talking about, the importance of having the kids being able to be active and to learn better. There's a difference between physical education, teacher-directed physical education, and unstructured play, which is what we call recess. And I'll go into that a little bit here in the next few slides, and what teacher-directed physical education is. Because for those of you who have students in Duval County schools in the elementary setting, grades K through 5, you know that they don't have 150 minutes a week with a physical education teacher. Like when the kids go to PE, usually once a week, it's not for 150 minutes. That tends to be closer to like 45 minutes or so. So the other 100 and so minutes come from activities and physical education that is happening usually with a classroom teacher. Now, students in traditional middle and high schools don't get recess time. And this 150 minute of physical education a week requirement that the law has is only for grades K through 5, so no pre-K, and none of the secondary students in high school or middle school. However, they do have access to physical education that happens usually every other day when you are in a semester in middle school that has physical education, and of course, after school athletics. So those are the ways that we can increase physical activity in the school day under normal circumstances. We're encouraging our classroom teachers, of course, to use movement and physical activity as part of their classes, so they can get to teach that right-sided brain instead of the other one that we were just looking at in that slide. So physical education, or what we usually call PE, is usually taught by a certified physical education teacher. It has the ability, it provides kids the ability to be engaged in a purposeful and rigorous physical activity. And most importantly, it is driven by standards. NGSSSS is next generation sunshine state standards that have content which is specific to skill development and to healthy behaviors and fitness. So in other words, in PE class, in a proper PE class, the physical education teacher is teaching concepts that the kids can use for the rest of their lives. And those concepts are standards-based. In teacher-directed physical education, and this is where we can make up the rest of those 150 minutes that the state requires, we still have structured physical activities. So again, the kids don't get to tell what they're going to do. The teacher is telling them what they're working on and what they're learning. It is still also standards-based. It is usually done with a collaboration with the physical education teacher, but it's conducted by the regular classroom teacher. So the classroom teacher directs physical education through collaboration with the PE teacher. Whereas recess is unstructured playtime. It doesn't have to be playtime. In many cases, kids choose to maybe read a book or color or something like that. We like to promote physical activity because in elementary school, especially when the kids don't have daily physical education, this is about the only time they get to, whether we call it get the wiggles out or really re-energize the brain, this is the time to do it. So we like to get them to do some physical activity, but they get to choose it. It's unstructured within reason. There are safety parameters in place, of course. If your child likes to do what this young lady is doing in the image there, she's hanging up upside down from the monkey bars, well, that's an unsafe situation. And the teacher will remove the child from that situation as quickly and as safely as possible. So while your kid is supposed to have physical education for 150 minutes a week and daily recess of at least 20 consecutive minutes, if your child is behaving unsafely, that will be a reason for our educators to not provide this whole 20 minutes of recess. And so if we look at this Venn diagram, we see how physical education, recess, and teacher-directed physical education bring physical activity, that's what that PA in the center stands for, to our students based on their wellness, the classroom teachers' behaviors and what they provide to the students, and our state requirements through state law. Some of them are done mostly indoor, some of them are mostly done outdoor. Of course, weather plays an important role in what we're doing with that. But all three of these components in the elementary setting is what brings our physical activity to schools. And again, like I said, in middle and high school, we don't have the state requirement. We have physical education that is sports-based learning, and we don't have recess, and there's no teacher-directed physical education. They don't have that same 150-minute requirement statewide. So now we've covered everything that the state requires and how we go about meeting that. So I have a question for you. And the question is, and this is a rhetorical question, you can answer it if you like, but for the most part, do you feel like you're most ready to absorb new information and to learn stuff after 15 minutes of sitting down and receiving instruction? Or do you feel like it will be easier for you to absorb that new information after a brisk 15-minute walk? I know personally, I tend to do much better cognitively after I've had that walk. I get the fresh air if I can, I get my blood pumping, and as we saw earlier in the presentation, there are neurological factors happening. There's blood being and oxygen being taken to the brain, and those neurons are becoming, the dendrites within them are becoming stronger and are more capable to make connections, which allows us to learn better. So the next question is, well, what about your child? if we feel like we could do better after a brisk walk, for example, or a game of something we like, well, your child, and especially if your child is a young child, would absolutely do much better cognitively and academically if they have enough or they have the opportunity to get movement and physical activity and to get that brain reset going. So we call those brain boosts. So if you ever have your child come home and say something about a brain boosts, that's what that is the teacher letting them know that we're going to have a physical activity moment. It could be a 2-minute brain boost. It could be a 5-minute brain boost. It could be recess. But the whole idea is to get the brain ready to learn better. After so many minutes of a discussion, kind of like what we're doing right now, your brain tends to wander and go other places and you're not paying attention as much. So having this movement breaks creates that situation we call brain boost. According to the National Institute of Health, we have evidence that suggests that increasing physical activity and doing more for fitness will absolutely improve academic performance. As a matter of fact, specifically in math and reading, it seems like they're most influenced by physical activity. And that's all across the board. Boys and girls, although the science shows that it affects girls more than boys in many occasions. Ethnically diverse populations, math and reading tend to do better after physical activity or when physical activity is mixed in there. So basic cognitive functions, or anything that you need to do to use your brain to think and make decisions, are usually enhanced with physical activity and a higher aerobic fitness. And aerobic fitness, in this case, it means your ability to exchange oxygen better. And you can usually do that when you're in a better shape and you're able to do things like jump rope for a long time, for example. That's a higher level of aerobic fitness. The oxygenation exchange is better and your brain reacts better because of that. Even single sessions of and a long-term participation in physical activity, but even a single session of physical activity has been shown to improve cognitive performance. And the long-term participation helps with brain health. And a healthier brain, of course, is bound to do better for us when it comes to learning, which is what we want to do, we want our kids to do. That brings me to the end of our lecture portion of this. Again, our contact information, I'm going to keep this up on the screen for a little bit so that you may take it down if you like. You can reach out to us directly to Heather Olbrin, who's the director. You've got her number there and her email address. You can also email just the entire team. Sometimes you do much better at emailing the team at HEPE@duvalschools.org, excuse me. That stands for Health Education and Physical Education, by the way. So, and our team number is 390-2557. But the HEPE@duvalschools.org, we monitor that daily, and we're able to respond to you fairly soon. Okay, well, by all means, if you have a question or a concern about what's happening either with recess or physical education in the elementary setting, or if you're in middle school, what's happening with your child in athletics or in the physical education class, usually they have it for one semester. Those are semester courses in middle and high school until they take the HOPE course, which is a year-long course. If you have any concerns about what's happening there, if you have any questions about what's happening or what should be happening, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be absolutely happy to have that conversation. And if we need to come out to the school and see what's up, we can do that as well. That's actually our job, is to support those teachers as much as possible.
That's
all right,
good.
Christina, I think we're, yes, ma'am, sorry.
Oh, no, I was saying that was good to know.
Oh, yes, yes. We are here to support you guys as much as we are here to support our teachers in what they're doing. With the teachers, we work on the curriculum and what they should be teaching and how to best teach it. But with you guys, of course, we support what you're trying to do for your child and to make sure that your child's getting the best possible education all around. My area of expertise is health education and physical education. But anything we can do to help you out, that absolutely, that's what we're here for.
Once again, thank you so much for being here this evening, and thank you to our amazing facilitator, Mr. Edgar Pavon. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Good night.